Well, just being back at Bucks Regatta, I think, is my highlight. I mean, there's been some absolutely storming races. It would be unfair, I think, to pick one from any other, because I really have enjoyed every single race. I've loved watching the students race. I've loved the atmosphere here. I was really worried it was going to feel a little bit sterile, and some people are still quite nervous about returning to racing, returning to being in big groups with lots of people, but it has been awesome seeing the amount of support, the amount of students out there having a great time, and all the volunteers and all of our helpers being back as well. I have just loved it. I've loved every minute of it, and this has been such a great 3 days, and to be back in June, I'm so glad that Bucks were able to find the right time to host this event.
Yeah, it's always my favourite event of the year. I know we have wonderful events in this country. We have for Henley Royal, we have next weekend Henley Women's Regatta, we have events like Met and Marlow, which are phenomenal. We have all the small regattas around the country as well, but for me this is the big one. Like, obviously being in the university coaching sector, this is one of our sort of place it in the ground events, and as you say, it always delivers every single year. Unfortunately last year it couldn't, but to bring it back on and have it feel almost like a normal Bucks Regatta, there have had to be some slight changes, but absolute credit to all the volunteers that put this on and the organising committee, and of course the athletes and students that have come.
One of the things I think that sets Bucks Regatta apart, along with the likes of our Henley Women's and Henley Royals, is the fact that you get beginners racing on the same stage in the race after or the race before people who are going to the Olympic Games, right? We've had 2 athletes here who are off to Tokyo in just a few weeks' time in the men's championship single sculls, and they're racing alongside beginners who have only just picked up blades for the first time, and I think that's what really strikes a chord, is that sort of theme that we've got going through each of these events. But as we now look to this, the final race of the final day of Bucks Regatta, the Women's Intermediate 8 C final, we've got Cambridge C in 1, Sheffield B in 2, London B in 3, Oxford University A in 4, Aberdeen in 5, and Cambridge A in 6.
Yeah, more representation from Cambridge and Oxford. I think they've been a very welcome addition. I'm not saying they never come here, but not in the volume that they have here. Sometimes you'll see them just enter maybe some of their lightweight events because there are sort of the lightweight aspects of those clubs. But it seems to be like a broad spectrum of both of those clubs have come, along with some college crews as well, which is great to see. Great to see that those crews have travelled. But we do actually have, for the last race of the day, a phenomenally close race. All 6 of these crews are only separated by 2.5 seconds. Aberdeen are leading London by half a second, who have just a slight lead on Oxford, Sheffield, and then the 2 Cambridge crews. But this could be one of the most, well, maybe the most exciting race happens as the last race.
You could throw a blanket across this whole field. It's almost like it's been saved for us for the last race of the day. It just feels right that it's a close race to round us off here at the regatta, and we've got a good spread of entries from all over the country, from almost the most northern up in Aberdeen, our race leaders at the moment, all the way down to the Cambridge, the Oxfords, the Sheffields, from up in the sort of northern part of the Midlands. I won't try and classify where Sheffield are. I'll probably get into hot water calling them northern or Midlands. But look at this race across all of these 6 crews. There is overlap between the entire course here at Bucks Regatta. The fans are in for an absolute treat, and if you're tuning in here to the live stream for the final race of the day, just look at this race that we've got coming down the course. It was Aberdeen who sits in lane number 5. They're one in from your left hand side of the screen there in the blue and gold that led this race. But in fact, I think now it's a surge coming from London B. They're in the middle of your screen there. They're 3 in from the left in the purple. I think they're starting to surge now, Alex.
Yeah, it's nearly 7 in the evening here and things are getting hot. What a race we have here between these 6 crews. They've had to wait all the way from that morning time trial to being the very, very last crews on. I think they did the penultimate time trial of the morning with only the women's champ 8s to follow them. So they finished their time trial probably at about 11:15, and they had to wait about 8 hours for this, but it was worth waiting for. It looks like the crew in 3 just poking their nose out is London. London have just managed to squeeze out this. I know Aberdeen was still leading at the 1500 1500 over in lane 5, but London seems to have made the decisive move within this last 500 metres. But what a race we still have on our hands here.
Huge push from the purple of UL in lane number 3. You can see them in the centre of the course there in the yellow boat. Still tons and tons of support. You can see the coaches cycling along on the left-hand side of your screen on the bank, and they know this is an absolute corker. It's just Cambridge C off the pace. They're at a length off the bank, but every single other crew in this race with overlap. The University of London now 3/4 of a length up where it matters most. Into the Red Boys they go with the advantage. This is going to be an absolute seal-off of the last race of the day, but oh, disaster, a crab in the 3 seats of the University of London crew. Just a bit of splashes. They've recovered well and they're still charging. Next to them, Oxford A sit in second ahead of Aberdeen.
Yeah, what a finish we have here. What a close race. It did split out a little bit because of the pressure put on. London, they move out. What a finish from London. Then it's lanes, the far lane, so Oxford, Aberdeen, Cambridge in that order, with Sheffield just crossing in there, Hudson, and then Cambridge again crossing on this near side. So what a good race to close off this regatta for 2021. Congratulations to London. They found the speed they needed in the last 500 metres. Everyone else tried to go with it, but it was London who then just led that kind of diagonal charge. London, Oxford, Aberdeen, Cambridge. That was the front four, but what a closing race to this championship. We couldn't really have asked for much more.
No, we really couldn't have asked for much more, and the sun came out for these minor finals on the last day here at the National Water Sports Centre. And I guess all that's left to say is thank you. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. Thank you to all of the spectators and supporters. Thank you to all of the athletes for making it such a pleasure for us to watch. All of the coaches that have made sure that these crews have got here in one piece, as that is a challenge in itself in these challenging times. A big thanks to all of our production crew, to the guys who have brought you these fantastic images. I know a lot of you will have been very grateful to be able to support your crews from home if you couldn't be here at Nottingham in person yourself. So put our hands together for them who have been able to bring you all the action here from Nottingham, from the National Water Sports Centre. I've been Camilla Hadland. I've been joined here by Alex Darby. Big thanks to all of our commentators as well, who have taken you through the core team of myself and Alex, Will Horrocks, Fergus Mainland, Jack Dryden, John Lawrenson, the core team that have been taking you through all of the days here at Bucks Regatta. And a big thank you to the new voices that have joined us here in the tower as well. And thank you lastly to all of the volunteers and all of the Bucks officials that again have put this on for everyone to enjoy. We are really, really grateful that we've been able to enjoy 3 jam-packed days of racing in the glorious conditions here to round off Bucks Regatta 2021. We hope to see you again next year, where I suspect we'll be back in our normal slot, fingers crossed, on the bank holiday weekend in May, taking you through Saturday to Monday on the first bank holiday of May next year. And if not, mate, be sure to keep an eye out for Bucks Head, which will be the next race on the Bucks programme, which will take place in February of next year. And thank you very much for joining us, and have a safe trip home if you're here in Nottingham tuning in, and a good evening to you if you're tuning in from home.